Welcome back to Good Morning Oakcrest. I'm Tamika Harris, and I'm very excited today because we will be exploring wall sculptures with Miss Diana Spencer, who is a Baltimore artist and writer, and she creates mixed media art using fibers and recycled materials. It's very interesting, and she's here in studio with us today to tell us all about it. So with that, I welcome Diana to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
It's very good to have you, and I'm so excited. As you can see, I have on my most artsiest top. It's the most, artsiest top I could find in my closet because I'm ready for all the color and all the texture that you have to share with us today on set.
I really appreciate you doing that
and
for
I love
me.
it. Isn't that nice?
It's fabulous.
Who else does that for you?
Nobody.
Okay,
nobody.
see?
You're the one.
First person,
the one
yeah.
and only.
Well, Diana, I know that you are a fantastic artist, but you're a writer as well.
I am a writer, and it's interesting because I think I have written probably all of my life. I mean, I wrote poetry when I was little. I wrote short stories when I was young, but I never really thought of myself as a writer until I got a job where writer was part of the job.
I see, yeah.
And that was that I became a speechwriter for Mayor GMOC, and so the word writer was in my job title. I started thinking of myself as a writer, but I've taken lots of fiction classes. I've actually published 2 children's books, one about Abraham Lincoln and one about Martin Luther King. And so I write for a living. I work for Baltimore County Public Schools. I do a lot of writing for their website, for publications. I provide writing support for the superintendent for reports and things like that. And I do, my own writing when I have time. I keep starting to write novels and never finishing the novels.
I see, yeah. Well, visionaries have hard times with that, but it's okay. I know one day it'll be done. And
One
when
day
it
it will.
is, you have to come back to Good Morning Oakcrest and tell us all about that.
I would be thrilled to do that.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled to do that.
So what is writing like? What is your way of writing? I know a lot of people kind of have their own method of how they go about writing a story, but when one is reading a Diana Spencer story or Diana Spencer's piece, where are you taking them at?
Well, it's interesting. I think that people tend to like my writing because I think it's very accessible, and I think that I do a lot of speech writing. I did speech writing for Mayor GMOC. I've done speech writing for lots of other people around the Baltimore area, and I think that part of it is that I can write in a very conversational way, and that I pay a lot of attention to kind of the rhythm of the words, which kind of relates also, I think, to my artwork. There are rhythms and patterns and
flow,
and I'm very much in tune to that. In terms of my more creative writing, I can get inspired by a lot of things. One story that I wrote that I was really, really pleased with was I was driving down a street and I was in the Pikesville area, and it was really windy, and there were these 3 boys on the corner, and the wind was blowing, and they were trying to hold their yarmulkes on their heads, and it made me think about holding on to tradition when things are trying to move you away from the tradition. And I wrote a short story that had nothing to do with those 3 boys on that corner. The story was about a girl and her mom, and she'd always been closer to her dad, and her dad had passed away, and this was their first Christmas without him. And she really missed him and felt like she didn't know how to connect to her mother. But what she didn't know was that her mother, as a surprise, her mother had built her a table. Her dad had always spent a lot of time in the wood shop, and she'd always spent time there with him. And so what she didn't know was that her mother had learned things from her father and was able to build her this table, and took her into the wood shop and showed her that she'd made her this table. So it's the idea of trying to hang on to traditions when the world's changing around us.
So when did artist come into your title?
It's still scary for me to call myself an artist. I still sort of wonder, am I an artist? It's very hard to accept that sometimes. But I think I've always made things. I've always liked creating things. When I was younger, I not only always wrote, but I used to, draw houses, draw children's clothes. I used to make things.
Yeah, so your
And
hands were very busy.
my hands were always
Yeah.
busy, and it's kind of a balance, because when I write, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm typing, and it's just kind of, you know, me and a machine usually. But it's so much more tactile, and to take a bunch of materials and then come out with something different in the end, and you can hold it and you can feel it. So I guess I just started calling myself an artist.
Yeah.
Sometime when after I passed the age of 50, I decided I should stop trying to be an artist and wishing I were an artist, and just
be, right? Just live as an artist.
Just be
right.
an artist. Just live that way. But I've always, I mean, I would make, my daughter was talking the other day about when she was younger, she had sometimes pretty elaborate parties, and I would, like one of her parties was a karate party, and so I made these like Chinese scrolls for her party invitations, and I would, when we would go on vacation, I would create our own little brochure. I would design our own little brochure with all the places that I thought we might want to go, or restaurants. And it was actually very practical and handy, but I would spend a lot of time designing it too. I like to make things.
Well, you know, your things are amazing, and they are unique. You know, I don't get from you that you are an artist who kind of, I don't want to say copycat, but you know, I don't get that you draw from somebody else. Or are you inspired by someone when you are in your artist mode?
I'm inspired by lots of people, actually. There is an artist, I'm not sure where exactly she's based, she might be in California, named Myra Berg, who wraps fibers around tubes. I'm not sure what her tubes are made of. She makes really large pieces, and they are made so that they are offset from the wall, and they are very expensive.
That's a true installation, right?
They're true installations. They're very expensive. I'm not sure how exactly she makes them. I was inspired by her pieces. I have a friend in Baltimore, Loren Cornish, who's an amazing glass mosaic artist. He is just an amazing person. And actually one day I went to visit him, and he uses a lot of found materials. One day I went to visit him, and he was in a studio that was next to a shop that sold like window blinds or something, and they had these giant cardboard tubes. And so he does what he does. I mean, if he were here and you said he could have this table, he would cover it in glass mosaic. That's what he does. He covers things in glass mosaic. So he covered these tubes with glass mosaic. And I thought about buying one, but I have so many pieces of his artwork, and I have no more walls to hang artwork on. I keep having to take artwork down to hang up my pieces.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me thinking again about the whole cardboard tube situation and what you could do with cardboard tubes. And what I wanted to do is not copy what Myra Berg does with her single huge pieces, but I wanted to see if I could take the individual tubes and, you know, assemble them and make them into three-dimensional pictures, make them into
live.
Yeah, something more. And I think of them, I mean, sometimes I think of them as quilts, because you're taking little bits and pieces, like here, you're taking little bits and pieces of something.
That's
and
true.
you are, you know, kind of patching it together like a quilt. I also think sometimes about, there were a group of artists called color field artists who, their work wasn't representational in any way. It was all about color, and it was all about what you did with color. And I think of my pieces a lot that way,
and
too.
there's a certain communication that you get from it too. And I think that's, of course, individual, how each person connects with each piece. But when did you start doing wall sculptures?
I believe I started about 1.5 years ago.
Really?
And I've been spectacularly thrilled with the response that I've gotten from
right?
Because sometimes my daughter will say, you know, why can't you be a normal mom? Well, I have a closet now that is, if you open up the closet, It is stuffed with cardboard tubes of varying widths and lengths.
Sizes and
And
all.
then there's shelves, and the shelves have boxes and boxes and boxes of different kinds of yarns and fiber, you know, divided by, divided by color.
Yeah.
It's really sort of become a little bit of an obsession for me.
Well, you've
But I
brought
think
plenty of pieces by today in studio, and we're so grateful for that. One of my favorite pieces is right over there, actually. It's just fantastic. I just love it.
Thank you.
It's long, it's pretty, it's just, I don't know, it just connects with me somehow. How long does it take to make a piece like that?
It really, really depends. It depends a lot on how many times I stop and start and change colors.
Yeah.
So example, a tube like this, where I'm just using two colors and most of the tube is actually covered in one yarn,
Yeah.
I could probably do in, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or something. But tubes like this, where there's a lot of measuring involved and making sure that things match up, and I'm stopping and starting with lots of different yarns.
Yeah.
That can
So a piece
take
like
twice
that
as
is
long.
definitely a piece that would take some time then.
It takes time, and also the assembly of that. I'm pretty sure that that's the piece. I spent like 2 hours assembling that piece.
Yeah, let's look at it also hung up on the wall. You know, I'm assuming that you can do this piece however the owner decides to
You
have
can.
it.
I usually put on all of my pieces. I put on all of my pieces. I put D-rings.
That's right.
But very often I put them on all four corners.
Right.
So then the person can decide that
Vertical
they
or
like it this
horizontal.
way, or that they like it this way, or that they
Absolutely.
like it this way.
Yeah.
And I have made pieces that I thought, this piece belongs this way, and people will buy it and they'll say, I'm going to do this. It's like, okay.
Yeah, to each his own.
That's up to you.
To each his own. And
That's
then
up to you.
there's so much detail that goes into it. I think not only, you know, sometimes pictures don't capture everything. Sometimes you really have to see them in person.
I absolutely think that I have had so many. I've had my daughter, I've hired photographers, I've had so many different people. I try to take pictures, and I never feel like the pictures really look like the pieces when you're with them. I think that there's so much difference in variation in the texture and the depth, and yes,
the vibrancy. I also like how you have different dimensions. Now, this next picture, it's just a piece going vertically down the wall. I love it because it's simple. It says a lot, though. It's just a statement piece, and it's right there on the screen.
Oh yes, actually,
with the red and the white.
That's in my house.
Oh my gosh.
That's in my living room, looking into my dining room.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I'm very, very fond of that.
Yeah,
piece.
yeah.
And it's got a yarn on it that's got like little loops that were made into the yarn.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there they are.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just very festive. Actually, I made that and I hung that on the wall as a Christmas decoration.
Really?
But it's still hanging.
It's still hanging up. And
Come
you
to
know
my
what?
house right now, it's still there.
And it's so unseasonal, I think, because it can go with any type of, you know, decorum or season.
It actually just fits perfectly in that little space too.
Yeah.
The bookcase ends, there's a little tiny bit of wall. It fit perfectly there.
And I love it though because, you know, when we talk about decorations and stuff, most people just stick to pictures. And, you know, nobody seems to think about, a lot of people don't seem to think about tapestry or, you know, different kinds of pieces of art.
Right.
So how do you help break people into wall sculptures, you know, in their living space?
Well, for one thing, I'm trying to, you know, be visible. So I really, really, really appreciate being here and having this opportunity to talk about and to show some of my pieces. I think that people need to see them. You know, I think that people need to see them in person. So I'm trying to be a part of more shows and get my work in more places.
Because when I walked past your show recently at the Baltimore Art Outside event.
Right, yes.
You know, I stopped by and I said hi and we met and then I looked at your work and I was like, how could that work in a home space? But I couldn't see it, you know, until today.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Right.
When I see the pictures and then, you know, I'm seeing your work in a space, a home-like space, it's like, oh, It works.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the pieces I will kind of rotate around my house because actually the safest way for me to keep them is to
up
actually
on the wall.
hang them on the wall.
That makes sense.
So,
yeah.
you know, my dining room, my basement, my living room, you know, they're pieces all over the place. And I find that they work really well in lots of settings. I also have them in my office. I know that some people have hung them in bedrooms, you know, over televisions.
Are they kid friendly?
Are they kid friendly? If your so long as your child doesn't sit on one, I think,
Or hang from one?
or hang from one, exactly.
Yeah, it has to be high enough.
I would not advise that. And then I
Yeah.
also, a couple of people said, "Ooh, my cat would love to get a hold of that." It's like, no.
Oh,
Do
no,
not
no.
let your cats. Do not let your cats touch my work. Takes me too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. You were asking about time again, and I made. It took me about 30 minutes for each one of these pieces, and part of it was because I was stopping and putting
Small detail in there.
a little detail in them.
Okay.
And so,
Well, the next piece I want to talk to you about is green art. Now, a lot of people are into this whole green thing, you know, not causing carbon footprint onto, you know, the planet and the earth, being good and kind and all of that to Mother Nature. And so when I read up on your work, you mentioned that you use recycled materials. So tell us more about that.
okay. Well, this piece, for example, these are old saris that have been ripped into shreds and sewn together
Beautiful.
to make ribbon. And so that's a recycled good. But what all of my pieces are made on are cardboard tubes that I am getting from, they're very thick. They're industrial cardboard tubes.
They're not like paper towel.
They are not like paper.
They are not. You can whack somebody real good.
You could
with
hurt
this.
somebody with these.
This is pretty sturdy.
And I get them from a print shop in Baltimore that, you know, they save them. So instead of recycling them, they save them for me. They call me the tube lady.
Right.
I walk in,
because their paper arrives on, like, their paper is stacked up.
Right.
So.
And I get a lot of I think most of these are kind of similar sized tubes, but I get tubes also that are about, you know, this big in diameter, and I get tubes that are this big, and a lot of these skinnier tubes I get from a fabric store. Again, I sort of rescue them before they get recycled.
That's awesome.
And these are about when I get them, they're about 5 feet, 4.5, 5 feet long, and so some of my pieces are very. I don't carry those around. Right. But there's one in my dining room right now that's about 5 feet long.
Wow.
And it not only has the tubes, but also sometimes I cover other things with yarn, like sticks.
Yes, there is a picture that we have with mixed media. And I think all your things are deemed mixed media, but certainly not all of your pieces have just, you know, yarn tubes in them. You have one that we're looking at right now with a stick in there.
Yeah, there's a stick.
And then there's some other carbon pieces.
Yeah, the other thing that's there, those pieces that are painted white, are actually packing materials.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
The gentleman who is who manages our campus for us at work, when people get computers or other things like that, he brings me the packing materials to see whether or not I'm interested in them.
Free supply. I mean,
free
you
supply,
are a woman
free
after my
supply.
own heart.
And I use them in various ways.
That's awesome. Do you use egg cartons too?
I don't use egg cartons, but I have some pieces that, because I've also been dabbling with painting, but I have some pieces that have that kind of egg carton-y shape, but I've never tried egg cartons. An idea.
I
have not tried egg cartons.
Yeah, you might have to call that piece the Tamika.
I might have to call
I like
that
how
piece
that I like how that sounds.
It sounds excellent.
Less about me, more about you, though. If you're just joining me, I'm speaking with Diana Spencer. She is an artist and a writer, and she is from Baltimore. And she creates this mixed media wall sculpture art stuff, and it's fantastic. You have to see it in person. You know, when back to this sorry piece of recycled material, I can just imagine folks who come from different backgrounds and cultures and all of that, how diverse this piece could be with Japanese, you know, fabric or African fabric.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have a
Let's lift this off your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
There's another piece that I made that has suede on it, and the suede is actually suede from a pair of boots that I loved. I loved the boots so much that I wore the boots completely through, so that they were just unwearable,
they were nothing,
unfixable. But the suede was still so soft and so pretty that I incorporated it into a piece.
That's fantastic. I mean, wedding dresses.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of all kinds of things that could be. I mean,
that would be fabulous.
I mean, I'm consulting you right now. No, I'm playing.
You are. Come to think of it.
But like babies' clothes, things that people would love to get rid of but have memory.
That's an excellent idea.
That's fantastic.
I have some of my daughter's clothes. I'm going to do that.
Wow. Bring it back and show us.
I will. Yeah. I do also have some, I made a piece that one of my sisters was at a coffee. I only actually have one sister. I just tend to call all my friends sister. It gets confusing. One of my sisters was at a coffee shop, and they were selling the bags that the coffee beans come in for like $1 a bag or something. And so I made a piece with that.
You know what? Of all the pictures that you gave me to have for this show, I did not put that one in the mix.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I think that was it was probably not a great photograph.
That was really cool though.
Yeah, but it was so funny because she gave me the coffee bag, and at first I wrapped it around this giant cardboard tube, and I made like a vase out of it, and I had sticks covered with yarn coming out of it.
Yeah.
And then one day I was sitting there and I was looking at it, and I thought, I'm gonna put that bag on some tubes.
Yeah,
and stuff. I did.
You did, and it was so creative.
So
yeah. So there's nothing that you can't wrap around a tube.
There's nothing. I've also done them with paper, and I'm gonna try to explore more with paper.
Straw, you think?
Straw? I don't know. Anything that's flexible, I think would probably work.
Well, you know what? You came by with a piece that we're going to finish right on set. So why don't we get to that?
Okay.
I'm excited. I've never done this before, so this is truly a Good Morning Oakcrest special. I'm excited. I have a tube, and it's empty. I don't know what to do.
Well, there are two things. The first thing we can do is I can show you how it is that I wrap the tubes.
Okay.
And so that starts with, I have to use this non-toxic glue. I was using this glue that I loved. Oh, come on, glue. I was using this glue that I loved, and but my eyes were puffy.
Oh.
My eyes were puffy, and then my lips started getting numb, and this was not good. And so I kept trying to make it be other things because I didn't want it to be the glue.
So you glue everything?
I don't glue all the way. I just glue to start. So.
But no sewing or anything with this?
No. I have done some sewing when I did the paper on the tubes, I actually did sewing with that. But I go like this.
Oh, she's quick too.
Well, no, not so quick. I go like this, and this is pretty much. So this is kind of my life.
So you watch TV and everything while you do this?
I do, or listen to music, or talk on the phone, and I do this until I get.
Look at her go. I mean.
So I will do this until.
And I saw how you started. You kind of
tucked under.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, and then I can stop. Ugh. The other glue, the glue that made my eyes all puffy, was a much neater glue that I much preferred, but I really...
So this dries clear, though?
It dries clear.
That's good.
It does.
That's good.
It does. But
wow.
It takes longer to dry than the glue that I
Used to.
loved so much.
Yeah.
Except for the whole.
So what do we have here? You have
Oops.
some fabric.
These are the sari strips. That,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So do you wanna take a go with this?
I'm nervous, Diana. I don't want to mess you up.
You can't mess me up. You absolutely
So what do you want
cannot
me to do? You want me to
mess up.
start one?
Here, you can start one of your own if you like, or you can
Now,
finish this
do
one.
you strip all of this stuff yourself?
I do not strip all of this myself. I buy it. I wish I could say that I did. But so it's just.
Oh, I'll continue
a matter
with
of
this
that.
one.
Okay.
Do I glue as I go along?
I don't. I just pull it really tight and just.
Yeah. And then you
I
glue
try
at
to use,
the end.
Yeah, and then I glue at the end. I try to
move
use as
that.
little glue as possible, really.
So keep bunching it.
Keep
kinda
bunching
tight.
it.
I might have found a hobby.
It takes time, but I think it's very sort of meditative.
It
It
is.
can be very relaxing. And choosing the colors is also, that's a huge
Deal?
yes, oh my gosh.
Is it?
Yeah, I will. Sometimes, again, my poor child will come home and the living room floor will be covered with yarn.
Don't step there. Don't step there.
I know, I want her to help me. It's like, help me, I can't decide if I like this
Poor
or this.
thing. I hope she has a life of her own.
She does indeed. She has quite a life of her own. She does not let her mother interfere with her having a life. So let me see. This is when the pieces are done. Like this is a piece that's done. Then what I do is I figure out, well, usually before I start the whole wrapping, I kind of figure out a design, like how these things are going to all fit together.
Okay, let's
So this piece is it's gonna look like this sort of ladderish kind of like a ladder sort of.
So it's like, is it a puzzle, you think, or it's just what comes to you?
It's just what comes to me. Before I would start that, usually what I would do is grab some cardboard, figure out how I wanted the things to be. If I wanted it to be a pattern like this, then I would mark the tubes so that I would know where to start and stop the colors.
Oh, that's smart.
If it's going to be random, then I just let it be random. Although it's interesting that I find even when I'm being random, that there are patterns. Like I started doing this and I realized that the long tubes all have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They all have 5 sections. They're different sizes, but they're all 5, and these are all 2. And I didn't think about it.
Right.
But it's just something. It's just something I did. So after I figure out like how it's going to be, then I
secure the back.
get some wood and I cut the wood to exactly the size that I need it to be. Then I cover the wood with some kind of yarn or something. I put, because I can't sign the pieces, there's nowhere to sign them. I put my name on them.
Very neat.
And then I pre-drill holes in the wood so that to make it easier. And then
she pulls out the big gun.
And then I pull out the big gun. Exactly.
Do you have a lot of equipment to do all this?
Oops. Do I have what is wrong with you? Do I have a lot of equipment?
Like, I know you cut your own stuff, right?
I cut things, I drill things, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Now, this is probably, oops. I don't know why. Because I'm doing this on television, that is why I'm having a problem.
Your drill is shy.
My drill is being shy, exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
But this is what I do, only without TV cameras.
So
and
then when
cooperates.
you are dealing with a fabric or a fiber that has its own texture, and I know how, crazy you are about your patterns and stuff, but you see like how this is happening.
Yeah.
Like the little knots and stuff. Are you not?
I love that.
Okay.
I love the knots.
Okay.
I love the
So,
knots.
like, how do you get them in a place where you want them, though?
I don't
You
worry
don't?
about that.
And I love that, too. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm sort of a random sort of a girl.
So just let this live,
Most
huh?
of the time, yeah. I mean, for things like this, I am, working with a definite pattern and I've got something in mind.
Yes.
But even then, like for this piece, I did not pick out all the colors before I started. I picked out kind of the main colors.
Yeah.
But these colors,
Which are very unexpected
which
in
are
this
very
whole scheme. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was having a debate with myself, like, should I repeat any of the colors that are, that are here and here? And I did, at least with that one. I think was maybe the only one. But yeah.
So a lot of your pieces are very unique and dynamic, and then what I love about them is that they could be as conservative as you want or as lively as you want. Like
yes, absolutely.
this neon green over there in the corner,
Absolutely.
And then you have like some deeper
Absolutely.
blues. We have a couple pictures with the deeper blues, which I could see in a very, I know men and women, it doesn't matter, whomever, likes a piece, but the blues just spoke of, some guy who's an executive, and he has a space and he wants that piece to just make a statement. And we're looking at that piece right now.
Oh, yeah. I call that piece Deep Blue Sea because I just feel like you can kind of like go into it.
Yeah.
And actually I did a sort of similar piece in purples. A lot of kind of metallic purples.
Love that.
I was very, very fond of that. But
awesome.
It's in a new home now, which is a good thing.
Oh, that's good.
It's a good thing. And that piece is actually sold too. So.
Oh, great. Well, how am I doing here?
You are doing so beautifully. I love it.
I mean, my goodness. It's crazy how instantaneous things happen here on set.
You are so talented.
Yeah. So where would you go from here with that?
I think I would stop this here and maybe go back to some of the brown a little bit.
Okay.
To get the brown in there. And I stop and start on the seam.
Yeah.
So that I have a backside, so that I have a definite backside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This has been so fun. I have really learned a lot. I thank you so much for allowing me to be hands-on with your artwork.
Oh, I can't wait to finish this piece now, the Tamika.
Take a picture of it for me. That would be so
I
neat.
will indeed.
That's
You did
so
a beautiful
neat.
job.
Yeah, I try. I try. It's the inner artist in me.
Multi-talented.
Yeah. So, if folks want to get more information on your pieces, your artwork, what you're doing next, I know that you have your contact information, but before we even do that, what's next for you as an artist? Are you going to stick with the tube making, or is it going to evolve into something else, you think?
Well, there are still lots of things to explore with the tubes, probably mixing the tubes with other things. There are some pieces that I've done where I've incorporated paintings and tubes and attached them to each other. So I'm probably going to do some more of that. And there are also some pieces that I've done that involve paper mache and tubes, and I would like to do more of that. The paper mache, there's something so light and fragile about it that I love paper mache.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very interesting. When you do all that stuff, come back. We have to have you back.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
I have to have you back.
To.
Maybe we'll explore Christmas with Diana Spencer.
Christmas.
Ow. You heard of it right here. Well, Diana, thank you so very much for being a part of today's show. You have your phone number, 410-419-8884.
Yes.
And you also have a website.
I do, www.dianaspencerart.com.
And I assume you keep folks updated on your website.
I
with
do.
What's going
There's a page called Exhibitions that says where I'm going to have my work next, and I do have a couple of things coming up.
Oh, so. Great. So you have it at museums or galleries?
There's a gallery on Park Avenue that I'm going to have some pieces there as part of a group show, and they also have a satellite location at the Royal Sonesta Hotel, and I'm going to have some pieces there also.
My gosh.
So that'll be in June. And I'm always looking for other places to show my art. So
that's awesome. Okay, well, I know you'll be back soon and show us what's going on. Again, if you would like to contact Diana Spencer, her phone number is 410-419-8884. 8884. Or you could visit her website at dianaspencerart.com. Well, we thank you all so very much for watching today's program, seeing me explore wall sculptures with Miss Diana Spencer. If you would like to watch today's show again from start to finish, feel free to do that at our rebroadcast times of 2, 7, 9, as well as midnight. I'm Tamika Harris. Enjoy your day.